So, does this work? I see YouTube working, I see Twitch working, and I see that cake working. So I'm just gonna wait if... Oh, that moves. Great. That moves. Great. And that is still showing nothing, which is concerning. Hello? Oh, okay, that is working as well. Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, today is, as I said earlier, on Friday. My bitrate is a bit shit on that one, I guess. Not sure what the problem seems to be. No, that's fine. I don't know why this is showing as a red. What the fuck, Twitch? I love that platform so much. I really love it. So yeah, topic stream. As I said, Tuesdays are like more reserved for me, for like more like simple things, one-offs, topics, and such. Hello, cat. So yeah, and one thing I wanted to do as a first thing basically is where was I for like the past year or so? I stopped streaming in like, well, technically I stopped streaming in like April of 2023, but there were barely any streams since like 2022, January or so around. I mean December, November, something like that. So I prepared a little thing that I want to go through. So for that I would need to get my notes from beneath the OBS window. Yeah, you don't need to constantly do this, thank you. So here are my notes. These are just very quick, you know. I don't know how long it will take. Let me maybe make this a little bit louder. So perfect. So yeah, basically, why did I stop streaming? Where I was, and what was I doing? Now this isn't like a comprehensive, oh yeah, Yaku was doing this list of things, and here are like a million reasons why I stopped it. This is just like a little interesting thing for me, you know, getting through this, you know, what I experienced in the past year, and just, you know, reliving it in a good way, I would say. In a good way, because there was a lot of bullshit happening in that last year, 2 years, something like that I just want to talk about a little. And man, just thinking about it over the time made my blood boil at times, because I thought like, man, how can this work? How can this work if it's this shit? How, yeah. So first of all, I had like the time leading up to the break, which was like July, August, and October. Now, in 2022, relatively in the beginning, I had a medical emergency, right? Something that just happened. There wasn't like any signs really showing. There wasn't like a big, oh yeah, it's gonna happen, but it just happened. So I was like, shit, this happened. Like, let me get my shit together, go back to work, and, you know, live my life a little bit more. It should just work out, right? No problems whatsoever. And that's what I thought until like July, where I had the second event with this medical problem. This was devastating for me. I was completely cooked. I thought, man, it's fucking over. What am I even going to do? And then I went like to an emergency doctor, and they were like, yeah, you kind of have to find a specialist for that. And just my like house doctor was like, yeah, until you like find someone, blah blah blah, and if you can't work, we're just gonna give you a leave from work, right? Basically say, yeah, Yaku can't work. Here you go. You get still paid, but you're not working. So I did that from like late July to the end of August, maybe even slightly into October. I don't remember. It was roughly 1.5 months of me just being at home, which wasn't that fun, because when you have like an event like that, it's not like, oh yeah, hell yeah, I've just secured myself a 1.5 month long vacation. Hell yeah. It was more like, what the fuck am I gonna do now? What am I gonna do now? What if it happens again? Like the second I go back, it was devastating, you know. Now I won't talk about what it was. Maybe at another time. But yeah, I don't need to disclose some of my worst in my second stream back, basically. So, at the end though, I played a little game that I just want to quickly recommend, which is called Sword of the Vagrant. On Steam it was called just The Vagrant. I bought this game on sale for like $1. I feel bad for buying it for $1, because this game was really good. I really enjoyed this game. Like at the end, before I went back to work, I played this game like in one sitting basically. I was like, man, you know, even in my current situation I can have fun, because there are good games out there. And I just recently bought it for the Switch, so I might play it on stream. I might not play it on stream, just in private again. And on Switch they renamed it to Sword of the Vagrant. No idea why, but hey. And funny enough, the right one here is the US cover, and the left one is the Europe cover. I personally prefer the Europe cover. No bias there whatsoever. But I also feel like the US cover is a bit like more like a, hey, one person, vagrant. More so than, you know, the Europe with that just shows like 3 and whatever that is on the background people. I don't remember too much. It's been over 2 years now since that August. Right, that was still in 2022. And then came October. And I have to say that sucked ass. That really sucked ass. Because in October, I basically got like a mail on my work email, you know, hey, Yaku, we're gonna have a meeting. Like you, I, the boss, the secretary, and the project lead. Which led me to me being in that meeting. Now, I was roughly sitting here, you know. Across from me was the boss. To the top right was the secretary, which was not some old dude, mind you. But like a middle-aged housewife. And to the bottom right, there was the project lead. Now, there is a reason why I put a rat there. Because that guy was a rat. I'm getting to that a little bit later. Towards the end even. But just you know, that guy, whew, that guy was an absolute rat, a real rat, and I thought the entire situation over, because at that meeting they basically told me, hey, we can't continue your employment, right? And one of the big reasons was you're too slow at getting work done and you don't ask too much, right? So at the moment I was like, you know, I just had a medical thing. I explained it to them, hey, you know, this is my situation. And I have to say, you know, it was good being like, hey, telling somebody, hey, you know, especially in like this situation, like, you know, just so you know, that's like kind of the thing that's going on with me. Maybe you feel bad for me and don't fire me, but, you know, it was for the better for me as well, right? But the thing was, they offered me basically to fire me, or that I quit, right? The meeting was, hey, you're done. You are done. But I got offered in quotations, you know. Thinking back on it, it's a bit scummy, if you ask me. But I got offered to either quit myself, which would have meant that I could have just gone home, you know, pack my stuff, being like, okay, I quit, I'm done, I'm out of here. The problem with that is I would have lost out of 3 months of unemployment, of like unemployment, you know, funds, if I quit myself, because they are quite strict with people. They are really strict with people, and they don't like people quitting. So they are basically like, well, you know, if you get fired, they have to employ you for the entire duration of a preset value, which is somewhere between 1 and 3 months. It's in my contract, you know, or like in they're like usually, hey, you know, the default is 3 months, but you can shorten it to 1 month, up to 1 month, basically. And they wouldn't have paid me these months if I quit. So first I was like, yeah, you know, let me quit, because I was just done, right? I didn't want to work anymore. I just had my medical issues. I was like, you know, fuck it, I don't care. So I went. But I did like the great decision. I had like that great light bulb pop out on top of me that basically said, "Don't be too hasty. Get a second opinion on this." So I got a second opinion on this, and then somebody explained in a very nice tone to me. Well, it was actually a very nice tone, but like in a very nice conversation, you could say, "Yaku, you're an idiot if you quit." And I thought to myself, am I? And then they continued, "You're missing out 3 months of payment, at the very least. Who's gonna say that the unemployment fund is even, you know, willing to not shorten your duration even more? Like taking off like a couple of months as well because you quit." So I was like, yeah, I shouldn't quit. So I went back the next day, I think even. It just took one evening, and then I went back the next day in the morning and said, "Hey, Bossaroni," you know, the boss was a nice guy. I really liked that guy. He was nice. He even like tried to help me with finding a medical professional. And I just said, you know, after thinking about it, fire me. Fire me, right? And that's what happened. So they fired me, and for the next, starting with at the beginning of the next month, for the next 3 months, I would still be working, but I would not continue to work starting in January, basically at that time. And we came to a bit of a conclusion, right? A bit of an agreement, where I was like, you know, I can do this shit right now, being in the office and everything. So for the next 3 to 4 months, I was in the home office. I was at home, quote unquote, working. Now, in that time, I barely did anything. And one of the reasons why I barely did anything at work and at home, well, I was at home, but like after work. At work, because I got no work assigned to me anymore, which was already a problem beforehand, mind you. But after I got fired, they were like, yeah, you know, here's like a bug, here's like a little issue, here's something you can go and research. And it was just menial tasks, and most of my time I spent not doing anything. I spent nothing. I spent time doing nothing. Like, so being like, okay, you have like to put the PC open, the meeting, like what was it, Microsoft Teams, the meeting application, Microsoft Teams, which is horrible, mind you. And the new one at my new place is just as horrible, if not even worse. You'd think these applications that are bought by companies, by the way, which spent millions, would be good, but they're just not. They're just not, right? But anyways, I had like the Microsoft Teams open, and if like a call or a message came in, I would like pop into it, like, hey, by the way, I'm here, in quotations here, and I do work, but not really. And that's a bit of a thing. They could have just set me free. That's something they can do. They can, especially in companies where a fired employee cannot be trusted anymore. They would just say, well, you're still employed, technically, but you're not doing any work. You don't get a work PC anymore. Maybe you get like access to the team chat, the general chat, whatever. All your rights are taken away, basically. You can't like look at code, you can't look at business applications. That's it for you. And I would have wanted that, right? Because then I could have just really focused on other things. But I had a lot going on in my mind, so in private I really didn't do anything as well. I really didn't. And this kind of behavior of during the entire day I was just doing nothing kind of went into my free time, because I was just depressed in a way, you know. So I never I barely did any streams in that time, but it got like worse and worse and worse the further it went on. Oh yeah, I forgot this one. Fire me. And at that time I was like, hey, I need a new job. I need a new job. Which sucked ass, right, mind you. This entire process of finding a job sucked ass. So for a time I was like, you know, putting it on the back burner, just did like the regular stuff, applying to jobs I've seen, and so on. It wasn't like a big thing, right? I was just like, yeah, oh, here's a job that interests me, here's a job that interests me, but I kind of started to doubt myself at the time. Like, I lost my job, you know, can I even find another one? And then came December 2022. This was where my streaming pretty much stopped, and a lot of bullshit occurred. Like, I barely could sometimes apply to jobs because my CV and my like letter of introduction or whatever wouldn't go through because my internet was fucked completely. There were times where it was really slow, like ungodly slow in the kilobits range, if even. But worse, absolutely worse, was the reliability. The reliability was so cooked. And one of the reasons why is I had like a guy that like checked everything, and then he plugged like his machine into the socket and was like, hey, your internet is switching between our two protocols. Basically, they had like the fast one, and they had like the really reliable one, right? So every router will be like, hey, I want the fast one because I want to be fast. And if they can get it, they are saying, hey, give me the slow but reliable one. But that takes like a second to switch around, right? So your router is going like offline for a little bit, comes back almost immediately. Usually you won't even notice. Maybe like, you know, stutters a little bit. A website takes a bit longer to load while it's switching. For me, this happened in a seconds tact. Basically every few seconds it would do the switch. It would be like, hey, I can use the fast one. Hey, I want the reliable one. Hey, I can use the fast one again. Hey, can you give me the reliable one again? Hey, I want to switch to fast. Hey, I want to switch to reliable. Hey, I want to switch to fast. Hey, I want to switch to reliable. Back and forth for like minutes on end, right? I couldn't use my internet. I could like click on a website, it would load. Then I could click on a link, the website would no longer load. I could start a stream. It would be perfectly fine, you know, full quality, hey, green, everything, excellent connection. Next second, the stream would just shut off. That was no way to stream. that was absolutely no way to stream. It was no way to get any work done. It was a horrible period. And my phone speed, especially in my house, I was like, I couldn't get a good signal. I really couldn't get this a good signal, so that sucked as well. So my internet was basically to, well, I just need to hope that today is a day that it works, or tomorrow is a day that it works. But I never was certain, you know, if I could do anything. And this led me to a bit of a problem, right? Almost no streams because I couldn't stream. I really couldn't stream. So in January, a month after these problems started to happen, I streamed 3 times. It was alright. I really started to lose motivation though. Then in February, a game came out I was looking forward so much to. I was really looking forward to that game, you know. My god, my throat. There's something in my throat for the entire evening already. Can't get rid of it. But yeah, this game came out, Atomic Heart. So I was like, oh man, I really want to play it. And you know, maybe I stream it because it's a game I want to play. So I gotta be motivated. I'm gonna be, you know, hyped. This is gonna be it. I'm gonna stream a game I really want to stream right now. And it wasn't what I expected. It really wasn't. Like the trailers back, like the earliest trailers were like, oh yeah, this could be some kind of like Stalker, Bioshock kind of mix thing, which would have been great, but it was, it really wasn't that good. It wasn't bad, right? It wasn't bad, mind you. But it wasn't what I expected. And then in April, I got a bit of a boost in motivation again. I was like, oh yeah, you know, let me finish this game. And I did. However, it was, you know, it just wasn't the same anymore. Because my internet still sucked at the time. This problem persisted. It was getting better, but I had consistently just slow speeds. I was lucky to have like 5 Mbits upload and 10 Mbits down, you know. So I was, for the entire time, everything was getting worse. The streams were no fun to do because of problems like these. There weren't any real games out there that interested me at the time. And I just kind of let it go to the wayside. And then the whole unemployment and money problem started. Because in January, mind you, my contract was over. My obligated time that I still had to work there was over. And my contract with them was done, right? I am officially done with work. I'm fired. That is it. Please don't hit the microphone. Thank you. And I'm gonna put myself here. This was quite literally one of the worst, if not the worst, experience in my life. The whole unemployment arc was unbearably bad. Unbearably bad. I hated that so much for multiple reasons, and I can't see how people still get employment if they are on unemployment. I really can't. So yeah. Now, I was 5 minutes late on my first meeting with the person who was like overseeing my case, right? Who was like designated to help me. And the reason why was because the traffic light, the button, was broken. So it was peak traffic time, you know. I was standing there, pressing the button, no light coming on. And I was like, shit. What now? Maybe the button is not broken, just the lights, who knows? Nah, it was a button. So I had to wait until somebody on the other side came along and pressed the button. Nobody was around, though. There wasn't nobody. I was standing there like, hey, car going by, all the cars going by, trucks and everything. Like, man, you know, looking on my watch, I still have like a few hundred meters to walk after this, and I'm getting close. I'm getting really close to missing this thing. And then some like old lady came by and finally pressed the button, and a couple of minutes later it finally turned green for me, so I could finally go to my first appointment. And in that appointment I met this woman, as they're designated to me basically. She was kind of nice. She had a huge rack, which, in any other situation would be like a nice thing. And she didn't look bad, but man, she was a total witch. Maybe they're trained to do that, to be that way. Can you stop, please, eating the monitor? Thank you. Or the scissors or whatever that is. She was a total witch. Because one of the things, from the get-go, right, when I was 5 minutes too late, the first thing I heard after, hey, welcome, good day, Yaku, blah, 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 I'm like this and this person. The first thing, before that even, was, you're 5 minutes late. If this happens again, we're gonna send you home and deduct the entire appointment from your pay. And I was like, are you nuts? How can you just, do that? What's wrong with you? I can't do anything, for the traffic light being broken. That's not my responsibility. That's the responsibility of the state, who you are working for. So technically it's more your responsibility than mine. So it already started off bad. It started off so bad. But I was like, let's ignore this. Let's continue, stay friendly and everything. Man, that was hard. It was hard to stay friendly, Because when I came in, they were like, so, did you already apply to companies? So I was like, yeah, here I have my entire stack of papers. I applied to this company, this company, this company. Here's a spreadsheet with all the companies. When I applied to them, if I heard back from them, what I heard back from them, blah, 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 everything. Here's everything. And they were like, well, you have done 18 applications. 18 applications. We expected you to do an arbitrary amount, 24. This was the first time I heard of that. The very first time I heard of how many I had to do magically. Right, I looked at the invitation to the appointment and everything leading up to it. So, and online, nowhere it said hey, you have to do 24 applications. So I was getting mad at this point. So I was like, okay, but she didn't say anything. She was like, oh yeah, just so you know, you had to do a bit more, but everything's okay. A couple of weeks later, when I got my first payment slip, it came with a second letter that said, hey, because you didn't do enough applications, we're deducting 3 weeks of pay from this month. What? I was pissed. I was really pissed at that point, I did everything I could. It was basically a hole at the moment in the job market. There were no offerings, nothing, right? Even some websites or some companies put on their websites hey, we really don't look for anyone, don't apply to us. So it's yeah, I respect that. Just because these other assholes want me to do 1 million job applications a month doesn't mean I have to bother people who really don't want to. So anyways. And this was a bit of a, how could I say, a red thread going through the entire experience was threats. threats, right? The threat of, oh yeah, we're gonna send you home and deduct pay, or we're already deducting pay because you didn't do enough based on an amount and we never tell you. And this led me to, after months of not getting a job, right? This led me to the fact that I was like, hey, what can I do here? Nobody's willing to hire me currently. Many companies are not looking for anybody. What can I do? What can I do? So I went in, confident as a brick. I'm a programmer, right, by trade. I can potentially go independent. I could do independent work. I really could. I could try to set something up, right? All I need is a bit of time. And that's it, right? Maybe it works out. I get like $1 million. Hey, you will never hear of me again. I'm done for life. I have enough money for the rest of my life. Goodbye. Right? Or it could be like, hey, you get $5 and I have to continue looking for a job. They didn't like that idea. They really didn't like that idea. Almost immediately after suggesting that, I got threatened that if, they weren't like, oh yeah, are you currently working? Like, are you currently doing something? Have you earned any money? Oh yeah, what have you planned? Blah, blah, blah. The first thing after I brought this up, they were like, you do know, if we catch you making money, if you even make just $5, you will have to pay back every single cent we already gave you, plus fines. And I was sitting there, I was baffled at this point. I was like, what the fuck? Right? I'm like a guy sitting here, trying to find a job, not having any luck. And I had like this idea, hey, I am in a position where I really can do this. If I put my all behind this, I could pull it off. I really could. And it was shot down with, hey, you currently don't have a job. You barely have any money, right? Because of that. If you even make a cent, a sliver of a bit of money with this, with anything that we don't approve, or if anything that's not an official job, something that, if I would go out and I would make a lemonade stand, they would want me to pay everything back. And I was like, man, how do people get jobs when they work with you? How? This is impossible. You shoot down everything. You threaten the people when they have, honestly, in my opinion, good ideas. How do people get jobs at your place? But that was not the worst part about it, right? Because the worst part was the reminders, right? On one hand, I already lost motivation. I was like, fuck. What am I going to do now? I don't even want to risk it, so I have no motivation already. And then every single meeting. Now, these meetings were spaced out quite a lot, because, But every single meeting, it was brought up, by the way, have you done anything independent? By the way, have you earned any money with anything that's not related to, to a job that you have an actual application sent to? Have you earned any money? And I always had to be like, yeah, no. Since you threatened me, I'm game. I'm not doing jack shit, right? And that was horrible for my motivation. Because at the same time, while I was looking for a job, I had to be extremely careful to not make any money with anything else. So at that point, streaming was like an absolute no-go. Like, hey, if I all of a sudden potentially have an explosion, have a few more viewers, and somebody's like, hey, or I'm at a part of the partner program, so I'm like, here's $1 or whatever. I would have had to pay thousands and thousands back. I couldn't afford that just after losing my job for like maybe half a year back, you know. So I was like, yeah, fuck this shit. I'm not doing anything. I'm only applying to a few jobs, and that's it. Speaking of applying to jobs, I basically became, you know, this is me. I'm Mr. Worldwide. Because the thing was, for medical reasons, let me actually do this. For medical reasons, I couldn't just go halfway across the country. Just move to a new place in some other city at the other end of the country, because I live in a smaller country. I couldn't do that because I finally, after months, found a specialist in the fields that I had a problem with. So I couldn't just uproot everything, say goodbye, I'm gonna abandon my treatment currently and try to find another specialist. I'm not gonna do this, right? So I start to apply to companies in other countries just to get the quota, just to get that sweet quota of them not, you know, kicking me out and threatening me even more to pay all the money back. So I was like, oh yeah, let me apply to a company in India that pays like $50 a month for the job that I do here, and I get like $5,000 a month. I just did everything, you know, but I never heard anything back most of the time because, you know, they probably wouldn't even want a guy from an area which is very high in salary. Even if I would have accepted, like, hey, you just give me $500. It's like, you know, they wouldn't have cut it for me anyways, you know. But that was a bit of a letdown for me, you know. Couldn't find any work in my country, couldn't find any work in another country, couldn't go independent because I had to pay everything back if I even earned a single cent. I almost gave up. I was there saying, hey, I give up. I'm gonna be a bum for the rest of my life. Fuck this. This entire system does not work. The system that is supposedly designed to help you get a job, to like keep your life up a little, so that you can, in subsequent months, find a new job, doesn't work. Because they don't care if you go back to your old job, make the same amount of money, or if you go to some random ass, you know, whatever, like a cashier's job where you earn maybe like a tenth of the money you earned before. They really did not care. And that was horrible for me. Because I was like, yeah, what am I gonna do? And essentially I give up. I give up. I'm done. Whatever. And then the cornerstone in my life. Since I'm a golem, a cornerstone is, I think, a fitting concept. Both by the fact that it's a stone, just like me, and that this person that I'm talking about, which is my dad, is a bit of a cornerstone, a big help in my life throughout the years. He was like, hey, I saw this thing, this job offering somebody posted online on their own website. And I looked at it once before, and I was like, this is a completely, not completely different, but it's like a different field. I don't know anything about this. I already was not motivated enough to like even give it a try. But my dad was like, you know, try it. Try it. Looks like an interesting job. You might like it. So I applied. I was like, hey, I'm Yaku. This is my experience. I see that you like looking for this guy, but there's like a sliver in there, a slight sliver, something that I know, right? So I was like, hey, I know this. I actually worked with somebody who developed this. I'm gonna apply to you. I'm applying to you. You know, I want the job. Within the month, I got the job. It's amazing, right? It was this little piece that just entered my sphere, and I was just discarding it. Then somebody else brought it up and was like, give it actually a try. And yeah, here I am. A year later, I'm still at that job, by the way. And they like me. That's the biggest part. They like me. And I'm very well integrated and everything. So, but I'm getting a bit ahead of me here. This gets me actually to the point where it's like, hey, I signed the contract, bam, done. Now I can start thinking about other things again. This brings me to cats. I was thinking about getting a pet for the longest time, right? I was like, man, you know, I want a pet, but I don't know what kind of pet. You know, maybe a dog. You know, dogs are loyal and fun, whatever. Maybe a lizard, a snake, a rat, even, you know, to get back to a previous point that's coming up later again. But then I slowly drifted into the thought process of getting cats, you know. One cat at first. But then I discovered a set of cats that I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get 2. And it's funny. It's really funny, actually. Because my mom at the time was also considering getting a cat. And when I saw like the baby cats that she had, and like her like motivation for getting a cat, I was like, yeah, I got like a baby fever. I was like, yeah, I want to get my cats too. Right now, I'm not gonna wait any more longer. I'm gonna like contact the guy I already had a bit of contact with in regards. I'm gonna get these cats. 2 weeks before I started my job, both of them were here. Now, one of them just went away. I have no idea where. Probably the toilet. It's been stinking like hell in here, by the way. Because right when I started streaming, like maybe like 3 minutes in, one of them had to go and take the nastiest dumps. Yeah, the nastiest dump into the cat toilet that I've ever smelled. It's probably that one who's sitting on the chair and looking at me kind of weirdly. Now, I'm not gonna dox my cat. Not yet. This is like something I would like to do in a future stream. Maybe with some... if I can, with some audience interaction. But all of this was coming together to the point where I had to just say, man, my life is back in order. I have a job, I have 2 cats, baby cats at the time even. What can go wrong, right? Everything is in place. So my mind was like, man, hey Yaku, you know, like the fairy from Legend of Zelda. Hey Yaku, how about streaming? You liked streaming in a way, you know. How about going back to it? I was like, yeah, you know, I miss it. I really do. Sure, I could now focus 100% on the grind, go up the corporate ladder, be like Mr. Yo-Ho at my current company. But I was like, nah, you know, I miss streaming. Of course, there are other things I want to do, other things that I pursue as well, besides my job, you know, potentially leading into a separate job, and then see where it goes from there. But my mind always kind of like went back to streaming. And when my life was back in order, I was like, yeah, it just popped out in my head here and there. Man, I want to go back to Twitch. Man, I want to go back to YouTube. I was looking at my page, you know. I have these uploads, I privated them. They have no views on them, but I still enjoyed doing it. I really did. I want to do that again. And I also thought about Odyssey, but I like deleted that shit when they announced in 2022 even, I think it was. About, yeah, you know, we might shut down. The future's uncertain. So I was like, fuck this. Now I'm also on Kick, because I want to give it a try. You know, why not? And this brings me to... wait a second. This brings me to the fact that I then went and commissioned an artwork. Now you see here, if I can get this working, in the left is I have to keep my cats in check, by the way, because they like to go behind the PC and tear out the video cables, which is not nice. Good. Can you get away, please? Also, there's like a shut-off button right under the table. Thank you. That they could press, which I really don't want them to press, the shut-off button for my stream, for my PC, for my monitors, for my audio, for my fan, which is not running currently, for everything. So yeah. Move away, cat. So anyways, I commissioned a model in February, this February. On the left you see my original concept, you know, the thing I sent to the guy, like, hey, that's roughly what I want. Now, the model itself that the guy then made for me, in retrospective, is a bit janky, you know. And also he was like very, let's make it 1-to-1. He sent me a rough concept, but he saw this as like the final product. I was like, hey, you know, work with me here, but he never really engaged in that, which kind of sucked. But on the right now, or in the middle, you see then the finished product, which wasn't too good. It had a lot of missing parts, you know. And now on the right, after some tweaking, some additional stuff in my software, like the outlines, you know, the black lines and everything, it actually started to look nice. And then I had doubts, you know. Then I had really, really shitty doubts about everything. I was like, man, you know, can I really pull it off? Is my model even good enough? Because it was so janky and, you know, can I really do it? Can I really do this? Maybe I should just, you know, get V-Roid Studio and make like a super generic anime boy model. Or maybe I should like buy one on Booth. Like, hey, here's like a free or very, very cheap Live 2D model. Other people are maybe using it. But hey, you know, it's better than what I had. Or maybe I should just go back to the original Yaku. I was doubting myself for weeks at this point, right? The model was done in March. And it took me until just recently to finally be like, yeah, no, dude, you have that model, fucking do something with it. No matter what, just do something with it. You know, and it persisted in my mind. It persisted in my mind. But there was still a lot of doubt, you know, that I had. And then came like the big moment for me. The big retribution. Humanity restored. You know, I was like, man, I was pumped. I was ready. Everything is set in place. The last nail in the coffin. Bam. Like, confidence restored. I was ready. Because of the rat, right? And the reason I bring up the rat here is I was like at an event or something, and my cousin was there. My cousin worked at the same place I worked before, where the rat worked, where I got fired from. And I was like, hey, how's it going at your job? And he was like, you know, remember that guy? I was like, yeah, well, of course I remember that guy. I do. He's the rat. Both of us suspected that he was a rat. And he was like, dude, you won't believe this. He was a rat. He was an absolute rat. First of all, like the guy, you know that guy? Yeah, I mean, he's a bit of a dickhead. He never was meant to really make it. You know, he quit. He got fired as well. A couple of months after you. I was like, yeah, you know. I was like, yeah. Compared to me, I know that this guy was going to get fired. Everybody knew it. But then the ratatouille rat, came up. And was like, yeah, basically I quit, and that other guy quit. So they have like almost no developers anymore. They had, I think, 2 developers at the time, because one was in the military and the other ones were just interns. Fresh interns, like a year into their internship, which is 4 years. It's a 4-year internship, right? So they were like fledglings. They had no idea. And then these, like my cousin and another guy quit and told me like, yeah, you know, he was like obscuring all information and everything. And then projects were never getting done, and he was like always putting himself as like the one to get credit and everything. I was like, man, this reminds me of the time he complained to the boss that I never asked, because he was the one that I was assigned to. When I had a question, I was specifically instructed to ask him. When I asked him, he was like, oh yeah, ask this guy. Ask like the head of development. Then I would go and ask the head of development. And he was like, yeah, no. The project lead, the rat, you have to ask him. You are assigned to him. You literally have to ask him. You can't ask me. I'm not dealing with the shit. Ask that guy. Then I went back, hey, project lead told me I'm gonna come back to you. He was like, I don't know. Go ask that guy. And I would ask that guy, do you know something about this? And he's like, no, this is not my area. I have no idea about this. Go ask project lead. Go ask the rat. He should know this. And this like went on and on and on. So it was not that I didn't ask enough, that I didn't do things fast enough. It was that I was basically hindered in doing shit. And also when I requested information, right? When I requested information from the guy, like, hey, I need you to go talk to this customer and get me just what they need, right? Tell me, hey, what is it they actually want? This one problem, how do they want to get it solved? Hey, there's this other problem that I looked at. There is nothing wrong on our end. Can you talk to like the customer and ask them, hey, is it on your end? He never did that. For weeks and weeks and weeks, I would never hear anything. I would ask him a few times, and maybe a month or 2 months later, I would finally get a response, if even. So in the end, it turned out the rat got, me included, 3 people fired, and then he quit himself. He got me fired, he got 2 people to quit, and he himself quit at the end as well. It was like, dude, amazing. I was vindicated, you know? I was absolutely vindicated. This fucking rat, this absolute fucking piece of shit, this vile creature, only destined to destroy, showed his true colors because he just couldn't slowly try to destroy something. He had to go full force. So I was like, yeah, I'm happy about this information. I really enjoy this. Because I doubted myself for a long time. You know, is it really me? Is it really my fault? Was it really my fault, you know? Does this really mean I'm not made out to have a job and anything? I really had problems with this. I really did. It really concerned me, you know? For the longest time, I was like, man, can you please not walk on my keyboard? Thank you. Awesome, man, you know? Am I just not cut out for it? And I was thinking back over and over again, every so often. Was that guy a rat? Did he, you know, was he responsible? Right, I remember like these weird pieces, like, hey, like in retrospective, I did ask a lot, but I asked specifically that guy, who specifically then told the boss that I didn't ask a lot. So, that's weird. And I thought about it every so often, every couple of months. I was like, actually, was this justified? And in the end, it fucking turned out, yes, I was right. This guy was a rat. My cousin was right. This guy is a rat. Something is sus with this guy. Among Us sus, you know, not just venting. He full-on killed people. Not really, but he got people fired. I was like, yeah, fucking hell, I knew it. You know, I had this doubt in the back of my mind. I doubted myself because of it. It really destroyed me a little. And that was gone. That was absolutely gone. That was amazing. That was amazing. Now, just recently, I moved. Like, my motivation came back. I was like, hey, my life is getting good. My life is getting good. So I told I looked for apartments because there were a lot of things I didn't like about my old apartment. All the floors were creaky. The apartment was hundreds of years old. The internet was still ass, you know. There were a bunch of things. I might do like a second topic stream on that, because I think certain things might be interesting to talk about. Maybe I'll just keep that reserved to tell in some stream or whatever. But I moved. I moved like to the house next door, basically. Or like figuratively. It's like a 50 to 100 meters further. I just packed out like a... I just moved. Like, I really just 100 meters in like air distance. It's kind of funny, actually. I wonder how many people do shit like this. But I moved in a great apartment. It costs a bit more, but it also has far more space. The fucking basement I have, like my basement compartment, is huge. It's absolutely massive. It's bigger than some apartments I've seen. It's absurd. It's really absurd. And my internet is fucking great here in comparison, right? 500 down, 60 up. Twitch is bugging around a little. It says unstable, but I'm not sure if that's the truth or not. And let me quickly reset myself. Just saw how much drift I had. And this brings me to the end. All pieces were assembled, and I'm back, bitches. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. Oops. My mouse, by the way, I noticed that recently, loses connection between the buttons, so I like double click constantly. Kinda sucks. But I'm back. Yaku is back. I never had any viewers back then. I don't have really any viewers now. I hope this changes, but I'm just happy. Everything in my life fell back into place. All the pieces were assembled. I assembled the puzzle. I had a nice little picture of 2 cats, of an apartment, of a job, of hobbies, of everything. All was good again. And now I'm here. Now, I didn't go into my new setup, my new model. Like, it was fun for me because I love programming, right? This is my passion. That's why I choose this as my job. So it was really fun in the last few weeks getting like this head tracker here working. It's janky as fuck. It's amazing. I love it. I love janky shit. I really do. I think programming has 2 states for me that I really love. The artful side and the janky side, and both are fucking amazing. So this tracker on my head that is strapped to my headphones with a cable tie that has the loose wires that are just close to breaking off. It's amazing. It really is. It's fun. It was fun to make it. I will probably improve it with a different module. I'm currently using a so-called MPU 6050, which is 6-axis. But to get a good yaw, which is the C rotation, you need actually 9 axes. How much does a 9-axis model cost? 10 times the amount of an MPU 6050, I found out. So yeah, that's kind of fun. Or if you go with the commercial version by like one of these like big manufacturers, Adafruit, it costs like $35. I'm like, dude, I'm not paying $35 for this module. I hope I can find this on like AliExpress. Because in the future I might try to get also my hands involved, having like 2 gloves strapped on and shit. And I had some problems with the other software with the model, but that was also fun. It's fun. It's so fun to do this shit. It's fun to be back streaming. It's fun to work on my model software. It's fun to work on my head tracker. It's fun researching stuff. It's fun, And this brings me just to a last little thing before I end this year. And this is just some goals and aspirations. Like, I want to keep it vague, you know, because I don't want to make like, oh yeah, big statements. By tomorrow, I want to have 1,000,000 subs and be a and basically be a millionaire. You know, give me all your money. No, no. I want to rectify the thing I did back in 2021, 2022. I never streamed regularly. I never streamed at a consistent rate. I want to rectify that. That's why currently my plan is to stream every Friday and every Tuesday. At least. Right. Every Friday is going to be a long stream, or is planned to be a long stream, 3 to 6 hours. Just gaming, you know. Maybe some other stuff sprinkled in, but usually just finishing like a game, showing off a game, whatever. Tuesdays, shorter streams, 1 to 2 hours. As an example, I just reached the 1 hour mark of like topics, random stuff, you know, just one-off games, you know, just like little games, like show them off, or like HIO games, funny like Chanky games, because I love Chank, you know, and so on and so forth. The other thing is I finally want to get this content creation thing started again, because that's something I actually been doing. Funny enough, let me think. For almost 1.5 decades now, I've been on and off doing content creation, and I want to finally like get this working, you know. Get this shit working. It never worked out. It never went anywhere. But recently I had one YouTube channel that I do some stuff on grow a little. You know, not like, oh, it's like 10 million subscribers, but it's like, it's getting there. It's like reaching 500 soon, which is insane to me. And the same with streaming. I remember back then, I had one active viewer on Twitch that would come in consistently almost every time I streamed and chat with me. That was an amazing experience that I will never forget. I will never forget that, because at the same time, you know, I was basically at the beginning of this, where my life went to shit, you know. I think they actually joined in like August or something, where I did the Lost Guardian stream, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong with the time frame though. But I will remember that for the rest of my life. I don't fully remember the name, like the entire name. I when they come back, I will recognize them, you know, 100%. But yeah, I don't want this to be the only experience, you know. I want many such experiences. So I just set like an arbitrary goal of like, you know, 10K. If I can reach 10K within the next decade, the next 5 years even, hell, or like 5 years to a decade, I would be absolutely happy with what I've achieved. I think not many people, especially these days, realize just how much 1,000 people just is, much less 10,000. So that's a big goal for me. Just noticed that the music is off. I reached the end of the line. So let's do this real quick for the end. Then something I never did. I never did, and you know, it will take me a while. It really will take me a long while to even get to this point. But I want to do some collabs. I really want to do some collabs. But I have my own problems, you know, that prevent that to a certain degree. And yeah. But this is also on my list. Now, I have a bit of a mean streak going on. When I'm thinking of writing with people, like sending people a message, I always have a bit of I want to be confrontational. I shouldn't do that, but I really like doing it, you know. I like being an asshole when I can be, especially with people that don't know me, never know me again. You know, talk to them once and say fuck off, goodbye. I like being, being a bit too confrontational for getting shit like this working. But maybe in the future, who knows? The future is uncertain. And talking about uncertainty, if I could make this into a job, that would be absurd to me. I would never do it. I would never do it. Maybe part of it, like as a separate thing, like, hey, I'm making like 50% of my money with this and 50% money of something else. That might work out for me, but I could never do this as a full-time thing. I just couldn't. I have too many things in life that I want to do. I still enjoy programming just too much. As an example, I could never abandon that. I really can't. I really can't. And just one thing I really want to do. Now, I don't have somebody today, but in the future, I also want to share, any viewer I get, I want to share with others. That's always something I love doing, is like go into new content creators. In the current case, mostly VTubers like myself. Channels, and like look at their content, like, man, if I have one guy here that's like, hey, or like one girl or whatever you are, like, hey, I'm ending my stream, and then that guy's like, man, I want to watch somebody else, like, and bam, here you go, there's somebody you can watch. I really want to do that. I want to be able to do that, because that's something I haven't experienced it myself. I haven't gotten that treatment, and I feel like other people deserve it. Me, maybe not so much, because I'm, me. But anyways, that's kind of it. That's kind of it. This ugly stone stopped streaming and returned. Before he looked like this, and now he looks kinda like this. How? Well, you just watched the free video. You just watched the free video. And I don't have much to say anymore. This was this week's topic stream. This week's short, sweet stream about my stopping and returning to streaming. With that, I want to say thanks for watching, and I will certainly see you on Friday. And maybe I'm in the mood tomorrow morning to do a little stream. I have like a technician come in to fix my cooktop. I don't know when he exactly comes, so I have to check about that. But anyways, with that, I want to say thanks. I really enjoyed talking about this. I'm always a bit, here and there, torn into different directions. I have a bit of a problem with that, with drifting off. But I wanted to tell the story, It might not have been the most interesting thing, but it's, for me, it's an important part to my being. And with that, I really want to say goodbye. I will see you in the next stream.